SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Welcome in on this Thursday night to this podcast. My name is Michael Morkey. Always appreciate you being here wherever you are and however you are listening. I just want to say again, I know that a lot of you that listen to this are in North Mississippi, specifically in Oxford, and just still thinking about you. Been talking to some folks, trying to figure out how we can best help, even though we don't live in the area, and just still thinking about all of you guys up there. And I know help is coming, and a lot of hardworking people are trying to make things right there. And it's just the more videos that I see, the more devastating that it looks. And just, again, want to just say that down here, we're thinking about you guys. We're praying about you guys. We love you guys, and hope that you guys can return to some normalcy soon. I know that the town looks a little bit different right now, but like I said before, I am a repetitive person, so forgive me for being repetitive. But if anybody can come out of something like this on the other side better than they were when they went in, it's the good people of Mississippi, and especially right there in Oxford. So still thinking about you guys, and hope everything is okay, and you're getting some sense of normalcy back into your lives. And I'm glad you guys are here. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Just search Rebel Report wherever you get your podcast. Please don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, to subscribe to the podcast feed wherever you get your podcast. Just search Rebel Report and subscribe, and leave a rating and a review. And also right here on YouTube as well, you can hit that subscribe button and leave a comment and a like and all that good stuff. I appreciate you, however and wherever you are listening from. And this edition of the show is brought to you by Logan Smith Shelter Insurance. Logan Smith Shelter Insurance Auto. I'm about to switch to Logan Smith for auto insurance. Home, life, and business. So I'm going to get life insurance and auto insurance, and soon home insurance as well. I am going to be able to give you guys a firsthand look of what Logan Smith has to offer. He will take care of you anywhere in Mississippi. He's got award-winning insurance coverage services. Give him a call at 601-823-3500, 601-823-3500. Even if you have insurance, even if you like your insurance, give Logan Smith a call. Get a quote. You'll be very impressed with what you hear from him, and consider switching. Logan Smith Shelter Insurance anywhere in Mississippi. So, you guys saw it, I'm sure by now, that there is a report that another school has reportedly turned Ole Miss into the NCAA for tampering, and I have some thoughts on that, and I wonder if Ole Miss should start fighting back. So first, I'll tell you the story, then some thoughts. We'll read your comments and do all the usual stuff that we do. This comes from a publication called Bold-Face Truth by John Canzano. Bold-Face Truth by John Canzano. I believe John, again, writes for his own website now. So Bold-Face Truth, I guess, is the audio version of what he does, and he is a columnist at johncanzano.com. He does have 81,000 followers. I believe he used to cover the Pac-12 for one of the publications out there, and I guess is doing his own independent platform now. Here is what he reported earlier today. He says, Canzano, Ole Miss Clemson NCAA tampering probe has new wrinkle. And here's the article. The NCAA tampering probe involving Ole Miss got a twist on Wednesday, one that involves Fresno State. NCAA investigators had contact with the Bulldogs athletic department this week. Per sources, the contact stems from allegations that an Ole Miss football staff member made improper contact and tampered with Fresno State receiver Josiah Freeman, a sixth-year senior in the team's leading receiver. Matt Entz, the coach at Fresno State, declined comment on Wednesday. Bulldogs AD Garrett Classy isn't talking either. I'm told by NCAA sources that Freeman provided screenshots of the communications to officials. Quote, Fresno State has receipts, end quote, a source said. Then he says the latest tampering allegations against Ole Miss dovetails with Clemson and on and on. All right. a few things here. There's positive spin, there's negative spin, and then there's, so truth always falls somewhere in the middle, I suppose. But the positive spin is a few things. If you're looking for that, number one, I'm not intending on doubting the reporting, because every word John Canzano could have written or wrote could be accurate. Every word. I don't know if it is or it is not. Sitting from my seat and watching the way things like this get reported on, usually you have a reporter report something, and then the other people that cover college football confirm that story, right? That's usually how it goes. Frankly, you want to go back to 2022, there was a red flag that needed to be raised when it was reported that Lane Kiffin had accepted the job and he will be Auburn's next head coach. Now, look, as we know, it was probably communicated to Auburn that was the case until he changed his mind. He has publicly talked about that in the past, but there's a reason that at the time, nobody else was like, I can confirm Lane Kiffin in Auburn is done. He will be the next head coach at Auburn, right? None of that happened. It was a little premature. Is this that way? I don't know. But I do know, generally speaking, when something in college football breaks, guys like Dellinger, Nakos, Zenitz, Thamel, etc., will jump on board and confirm it. They will say, I have spoken with the NCAA, or my sources confirm the story to be true. The NCAA's investigating, or Fresno State has, in fact, blah, 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 right? You get that with these guys, these national reporters. They will confirm reports like this to be true when you're talking about the NCAA investigating a major college football program. That did not happen today. That raised a red flag to me. Maybe that happens tomorrow. Again, I don't know. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, that has happened. But as of this recording at 9:04 on this Thursday night, I have not seen that. And that raises a red flag to me. So that's number one. Number two, Fresno State not speaking about this on record is also interesting. Declining comment doesn't mean that it's not true or true, but the fact that neither head coach nor AD was, yes, we've engaged with the NCAA when it comes to a tampering allegation, is fascinating to me. And then the last part is NCAA sources are saying that they have provided the screenshots. Well, I mean, if I know anything about how the NCAA operates, I would think that NCAA sources would go national instead of bald-faced truth for the publication for which they leak information about a possible investigation. So color me a little bit skeptical upon first glance because of those things. Again, it doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't mean it's true. I don't know, but I did kind of raise my antenna a little bit of, well, that's usually not how this goes when it comes to reporting on things like this. All right, so that's kind of the positive spin is there's some questions. The negative is, if it's true, if this is in fact true, and the NCAA does have some level of paper trail, receipts as he called it, then Ole Miss is going to have to actually deal with this now. And what does that mean? I don't know. What does the NCAA actually have? We don't know that answer. We know from watching Dabo's press conference that he said the phrase, just go get his phone and it's there. And we know that you can't go get, the NCAA can't do that. They don't have the legal power to do so. They also did say that, the agent said if you give our player an extra year, we'll provide evidence, and Clemson declined. So what do they actually have is one thing. What do they actually have? What is apparently in this case, if the reported is true, what do they actually have that is tangible evidence that is provable to confirm that not only tampering did occur, but it also came directly from coaches, direct contact coach to player. If that did happen, Ole Miss has to deal with this. They have to circle the wagons. They have to get ready to deal with the NCAA. Generally speaking, until the NCAA in this era where they're losing every meaningful lawsuit anyway, when it comes to having to defend their own rules, not necessarily the federal eligibility cases, but when they have to defend their own rules in court, as you've seen with arguments with the Supreme Court and with player movement and portal and stuff, their rules don't really hold up in court because, as we've talked about a lot, they're not collectively bargained, et cetera, right? So that is something that they have been rendered incompetent in this era. And so until the day comes that they show that they have teeth, that they are capable of actually doing anything about anything, I will err on the side of there's nothing that they're going to or can do about this. But still, if true, Ole Miss is going to have to deal with this. But more importantly to me, I think that what I have learned and what we have learned over the last couple of days is that, right or wrong, it's clear that some people can smell blood in the water. And what I mean by that is, look at the way that the media, in particular, the college football ecosystem, reacted to Dabo's press conference. And look at the way that they continue to react about this. Look at, for example, what David Pollack said and things like that. You have a pretty fascinating dynamic where the people that cover the sport are very well aware of how it works. Like, they know how it works, but they also, for some reason, pretend like that's not how it works at the same time. Or they are willing to ignore the obvious and only point to specific things. And I think that's what's happening here. That's why the thumbnail of the video says, should Ole Miss fight back? I don't know. I'm not a PR expert. I'm just a yapper. I don't know anything. But right now, I do think that simply because Dabo went public and no other coaches went public, that was a first-time thing. I do think Ole Miss is getting, frankly, unfairly discussed when it comes to tampering and how rampant and blatant it is, especially considering what they just went through. For them to be the only school that is being discussed from a tampering perspective from the media, forget fans and Twitter and message boards, that whatever. I do think that it's incredibly transparent when you compare how the Luke Farrelly thing was talked about and how the Prince Will Uman Mielen thing was talked about, and then how, like, the Darian Mensah thing was talked about. How all of those things can happen in a very similar way, and yet one of them gets the scrutiny that it does, one of them does not. One of them just goes down and, oh, well, yeah, look at that. What a great ad for Miami. It is very transparent that you have people in my business, again, forget Twitter, forget message boards, you've got people on Twitter celebrating the damage and the loss of property and life in North Mississippi because a linebacker is not going to play for their favorite football team. Okay, so Twitter's a cesspool, horrible place. But the reaction, the ecosphere, the media sphere is taking the low-hanging fruit and not willing to have, by and large, the real discussion about how this happens and what it is and what's going on. So, again, Ole Miss is going to have to deal with this if this reporting is in fact true. Again, if it's true and we only have one side of the Clemson story, I hope Ole Miss moving forward becomes a little bit smarter than direct communication between head coach and player that is currently attending a different school. Again, that's only one side that has not been confirmed. It would still surprise me if that's actually how it went down. I know that's what happened with Ole Miss players in LSU, direct contact from head coach, but still, you would hope moving forward that if that is in fact true, that stops. I will believe the NCAA has teeth when they actually show that they have teeth. And even if they do, trying to enforce tampering in court would be difficult for the NCAA. And if I were Ole Miss, I would lawyer up and say, come get me, because you can't. So come get me. And I do wonder if this continues any longer, that Ole Miss doesn't start fighting back in the PR department. Because Auburn, for example, Alex Galesh gave a pretty ridiculous quote today. I'll read it for you. I mean, just the gaslighting and the hypocrisy in this one. Quote, "Is it right to call a kid that's on somebody else's roster to go get him? It's not. I think in a lot of ways, what goes around comes around. I'm a strong believer in the football gods will find you at some point." That is Alex Galesh that took 13 players from South Florida to his school. I'm sure that I have no doubt that he and his new quarterback did not discuss Auburn or transferring at all until he entered the portal, and only then did they discuss Auburn. And I'm sure that the two Ole Miss players that transferred from Ole Miss to Auburn, one that entered the portal in 48 hours was committed to Auburn, and then the other one entered the portal and then on the same day, the very same day, was committed to Auburn. I'm sure there was nothing that they just both loved the allure of the plane so much that on the day they enter the portal, they already know they're going without talking to a single person. So that's what I mean by blood in the water, guys. It's quotes like that right there. It doesn't matter if it's disingenuous. It doesn't matter if it's hypocritical, because that is what you're having to deal with right now. So I wonder if Ole Miss is going to consider starting going on the offensive, because you know that, like everybody else in college football, they've got something on somebody and a lot of things on a lot of people, just like everybody else does. And if you're going to try to bring them down, maybe other people need to come down with you, because, I mean, I shared it on Twitter. There's a Virginia Tech defensive lineman that went into detail about just how obvious the tampering for him was. It started in week 4 when Franklin got fired. He shared a screenshot of a text, which looked like it read from an agent, by the way, trying to get his services. But it even said so far that a school was tampering with him, and then people wearing the school's gear were sitting in the stands watching him play one day. And he said every decent player gets tampered with. It's everywhere. And we know that because we talk about it, because frankly, we're honest about how this goes down. But I do think that if this continues any longer, where you are the only one that is being talked about in this way, maybe you should fight back. I'm sure the legal advice does not say anything. And especially when it comes to this report in particular, it's a little bit different when Dabo, a sitting Power 4 head coach, speaks on you publicly and names you and your player and your head coach specifically. But I don't think bald-faced truth needs a response from you right now. You know what I mean? You have no coach, no AD on record talking about you. Nobody else has confirmed it to be true. I kind of feel like Ole Miss doesn't need to respond to this one in particular. But if this keeps up, maybe you start fighting fire with fire. I don't know. I do know that they got a lot on their plate right now. And so maybe they'll address this at a later date, or maybe not at all. But there's a lot to unpack there. And again, I think it's getting to the point now where people that know better are starting to pile on. And maybe you need to start fighting back. We will read your comments after I tell you the podcast is brought to you in part by Priority One Bank. They make you their priority every single day with their online banking platform. It's a one-stop shop. All you need is an internet connection. It's all you need, and you can do whatever it is that you need to do with your money, because Priority One Bank makes you their priority every single day, like they do me. outstanding online banking platform, local loan servicing and decision-making, 16 locations in Mississippi. Switch to Priority One Bank, and you can bank with me there. Also, Advantage Business Systems for all of your office technology needs, absms.com. All right, to the comments we go. Is Lane sitting in Baton Rouge thinking about whether this is going south for Ole Miss means his tampering will be exposed too? Not because I have disdain for Lane, just because he was as blatant as us, you say. I would argue that it was more. I mean, it's funny, Mike, that the discourse around him and LSU was how many players is he going to take with him? Well, how do you take a player with you unless you talk to them before they hit the portal? I mean, it's how all of these things are talked about is dancing around the issue until this one specific thing, and then something happens after, and they go back to dancing around the issue again. It's a double standard. That's the frustrating part. Like, should anybody break rules? Is breaking rules bad? Yes, it is. We have that conversation with our son. It's, honesty, integrity, doing the right thing, making good choices. That's all real, and that's all how we operate in real life, But that can be true, and it also can be true that you're not being honest unless you talk about it in a way that truly reflects what's going on, as opposed to pretending like there is one out here on an island by themselves and everybody else is back on the mainland operating within the structure of the rules. That's a bunch of garbage. And it tells you how afraid people in my business are of either telling the truth or getting access cut off or not getting the interview that they want. Don't fight back because nothing's going to happen. Again, I will believe something significant happens when I see it. I don't think. But here's what I'd be afraid of, though, Jacob, is that the NCAA has been rendered incompetent, and everybody hates them and makes fun of them all the time. All the time. And they hear it, and they know that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they try to seize on an opportunity to get their pound of flesh before they go lose in court again. Maybe that's the simple strategy for Ole Miss, because I know Keith Carter and Glenn Boyce are not going to operate an NCAA situation in the same way that Ross Bjork and Chancellor Gumballs did. They will approach it differently, but you've got great lawyers already working on something else for you. So just tell them, hey guys, if the NCAA comes here, you take care of them too. You got this. And just say, come at me. And what you do is you tell Greg Sankey too, you will deal with this, or your entire league is going to sink with us. If we get sunk, your entire league's coming down with us, Greg. So get this under control also. You need to do whatever you can, Mr. Commissioner. That's what if I were in Ole Miss's shoes, that's what I would be doing right now. And I have a feeling they've already done that. But so tired of seeing posts about tampering. Your X feed is completely littered with it. Some advice for you. Do not ever venture into the For You tab. Don't do it. Just don't go to the For You tab. Just go to following and then recent. And that's all you got to do. And you won't see anything you don't want to see. Yeah, they're not opening that box. I'm curious, though, how much training do our coaches get to avoid tampering allegations? See, that's something that I would like to know more. That's why I'm kind of curious to see how and when Ole Miss responds. But I'd be lying to you guys if I didn't think that if it was true that head coach directly contacted player with financial offer via text message on a traceable phone number. See, it's like even saying that out loud just sounds not believable. But if it did happen that way, that's reckless to me. Go through agents. That's what you're supposed to do. I would assume that they're smarter than that. That just seems reckless. You've only heard one side of the story. Keep that in mind also. Lane and LSU are being sued by Ole Miss for tampering at the moment, right? No, I believe that was erroneously reported. I do not believe that to be true. To genuinely believe Lane is behind all of this is just idiotic. You went after the only team who doesn't tamper and got exposed. Well, Peyton, I don't think Lane is behind all of it, or possibly even any of it. But I do know that it is quite obvious, despite what is said on Twitter, that he has been trying very hard to get Ole Miss in one way or another. I think that's clear. And you'd be lying to yourself if you don't think that that is the case. Tried to get certain players, tried to disrupt the locker room, et cetera, et cetera. Clearly was upset about not getting to coach the playoff, lied about getting run off the road, lied about being told or not being told until that Sunday that he wasn't going to be able to coach the playoff. That was just a lie, just an absolute lie. So it was the getting run off the road thing. That was just an absolute lie. A lot has happened with your head coach there, Peyton, and that's okay. I mean, they're not all choir boys, right? So I think you'd be nuts if you don't think that he has tried to disrupt Ole Miss in some ways, especially lying on behalf of the place, talking about getting run off the road. I mean, come on, man. Come on. That was especially bad. And doing that multiple times is especially bad. So even if he's not the puppet master behind Fresno State's allegations to the NCAA, to claim that he was the victim here and it's just stop. Just stop, man. Suggest Googling following evaluating the NCAA's responsiveness to tampering in the NIL era interesting and concerning. Yeah, I don't. That you have not been given a reason to be concerned right now. There's been blatant and obvious tampering in college football for years, and they've done nothing about it. So until they do, God, you've got. I'm sorry to engage with the bad comments, but man, I'm going to say this as nice as I can because you're just trying to make football jokes, I guess. But the ice storm that they're dealing with in North Mississippi and in Oxford has taken people's lives. People have lost their homes, property. It's been brutal, and so trying to make knee slapping ha-ha jokes about that is just kind of bad form. And, I would recommend you spending your time online doing something more productive than that. So. Promise. No. Let's see. Isn't Pollock a CAA client? Is he? Let's see. I mean, yep. You can book him through them. Maybe that's nothing. They have receipts with Georgia on Caden Lee, LSU with Princeville, and Florida State with Chris Jones. I don't have receipts, but Ole Miss does. Well, Chris Jones never really enrolled, but your point is a good one. I mean, but that's everybody, though. That's what makes this so stupid. That's what makes what Galesh said today so stupid. It's all so dumb, all of it, and everybody involved knows it. You can choose to believe me or not. I mean, I've spoken to people on the agent side, I've spoken to people in the coaching side, and former players, and it's just as rampant as it possibly could be, to the point where it's been said to me that if not only is it rampant, but it's required for you to sign decent transfer portal classes. They may suspend Pete like one game, even if they get to that point. I mean, that's the next thing, right? We had texters into the radio show today talking about bowl bans and getting the coach fired. I mean, come on. There is no reason to believe that is a thing that's going to happen. So Mensa thing is wild. Of course it's wild. It's the most obvious and not only is it obvious and blatant tampering, but it's obvious and blatant tampering with a guy that signed a multi-million-dollar contract with Duke. I mean, a pretty ironclad one as well. And it just happens and doesn't matter. That's why Clemson sucks, because they don't tamper. Well, I mean, there is part of that too. I mean, that they have completely fallen off as a program in this era. And, you know, on one hand, that Dabo's going to go down his way. He's not really going to use the portal. He's going to go down his way, but his program is going down. They have gotten dramatically worse than where they were pre-portal era because of their reluctance to adapt. And so right now, I'm telling you, I mean, you guys know this. That's what makes this conversation so funny, is you guys know this. You know this. Maybe it shouldn't be this way. There's a moral conversation to be had with our emphasis on sports, but the entire economy of towns and universities are dependent on the outcome of football games. And if you think that's hyperbole, you need to look into it. You're wrong. Losing seasons have an economic impact on the towns in which these schools operate. They have an impact on donations to the university. They have an impact on applications to the university. That there is so much riding on the outcome of wins and losses in this. And I mean, it's just to look at that in this era and not adjust and just see what Clemson has become. They've just completely fallen off from where they were because the inability to adapt. It's agreeable in January. It's great in January. But when they lose 6 games this fall, do you think any of their fans are going to care? Well, shoot, man. You know, at least Dabo took a moral stance against mean old Ole Miss. You know? Are any of their fans going to care about that? Oh, boy, we need another year of this. Why? Because he went after Ole Miss. No, that's not why you buy your season tickets. That's not that, and you guys know that. Maybe it shouldn't be that way, but that's why it is that way. And nobody's going to put up with you not doing everything you can to win. So the grandstanding is easy to do in late January because you can't lose a game in 8 months. But when you start losing those games, nobody's going to care about what was said in late January. Wonder if Kewan Trinidad and Will Eccles will show their receipts. I mean, part of me thinks that people will turn their attention to something else and this will go away. Because if I'm sitting in the league office right now, if I'm in the SEC office, if I'm in the ACC office today, I don't want any of this to continue to happen. I mean, if you're the commissioner of the ACC, do you really want your schools doing this, considering what Mensa and Duke and Miami, what just happened there? Do you really want to go down this road? I don't think so. So if I'm Greg Sankey, if I'm Tony Petitti at the Big Ten, if I am spending time this summer when they do their meetings trying to mutually come to some kind of solution, but I am trying to get my teams to stop this public stuff because it can only get worse from here. Dabo wants the discussion of him failing in the NIL era to end. Yeah.
Why is Ole Miss State so quiet on this subject? It's almost like they're ignoring it. Well, the snowstorm, ice storm probably plays a part in it. But also everybody has stayed quiet on this until now. Golish sounds like Brother Hugh trying to be holier than thou. Yeah, that's a quote that's going to come back to bite him, I think. Maybe not like with the NCAA, but look at their schedule. Their schedule is brutal. If they go 6-6 or 7-5, well, when are the football gods going to punish the bad guys and treat you, the alleged good guy, the right? You know what I mean? They can't get Fraley's phone, so Clemson has no proof. I mean, what do screenshots even mean? Like, do the screenshots have the phone number of the coach that sent it? Is it the phone number that is directly? You know what I mean? There's so many questions that need to be answered with stuff like this before you can actually talk about tangible something can happen proof, as opposed to this is, I have feelings and I want people to affirm my feelings. Let me hear your take on Urban Meyer's rant. I did not hear it. I did not see it. So you're going to have to tell me more about what he said. Worst kept secret was that Watkins was leaving. Everybody knew that crap in October, of course. The media will believe Lane because he's not the coach at Ole Miss because everyone hates Ole Miss. I do feel like there is less of that now when it comes to him in particular. I think the way he exited still will kind of resonate through the reaction industry for a while. Maybe I'm wrong. How are the dogs doing? I appreciate you asking. Maverick died a little while ago, actually. My guy had a pretty aggressive cancer. He died back in November. And I'll be honest, I still haven't recovered from that. Because he was my first dog, he was my guy, and he's the catalyst for why I have everything that I have in my life is the dog, and so I'm having a hard time with that. The other one, she's fine. She's just as dumb and happy as ever. But I appreciate you asking, man. How can you break the rules if there are no rules? It's a good question, but there technically are. It's just they haven't been enforceable to this point. Let's see, scrolling through a little bit. So what do you think will happen to Ole Miss punishment-wise? I have no idea because I don't even know what anybody has. If you made me guess, and that's it. It's exclusively just a guess, thinking out loud, something very small comes of it. Some kind of slap on the wrist, like, hey, we got somebody. See, we enforce our rules. That's if I had to guess, that would be my guess. But I have no idea. But yeah, as you say, the domino effect would be unbelievable because there's no way that you're going down quietly. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. You say, Borky doesn't know how text messages work. No, I do. A screenshot of a text message that does not include a phone number is useless, Jeff, because, who did it come from? And how can you be sure it came from that person? Or is it fake? Because you can fake text messages now. And is it coming from the university issued phone, even if you do think that it actually is coming from a coach? And how can you obtain the records to prove that it was real? You can't. So that's Thank you. You have 7 cats. Wow. I've thought about going to the shelter down the road and getting like a working cat is what they call them, one that really only wants to live outdoors, but I would build like a awesome like little hut for it, like a heated hut, and let it, go hunt all the mice and stuff around the yard. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm a big animal lover though. So like I'm not a hunter. I respect hunters. I'm not like anti-hunting or anything like that, but like I've been and I don't like it because it's like I'd rather just look at the deer than shoot it. That's how much of an animal lover I am. So I feel you with that one. If I could have 7 dogs, I would have 7 dogs. Sankey isn't going to step in. He let one SEC school try to torpedo another in a playoff run. He also let ESPN, who the SEC has a direct contract with, publicly talk bad. Don't count on him to help any. Yeah. You can save any number you want as Pete Golding. Yeah, of course you can. I can do that right now. Coach Golding. I can put that in my phone right now. Hey, I just got a text from Pete that said, your water bill's due. Wait, what? Oh. Those are the kind of text messages I get, guys. No, I mean I'm kidding. I do pay my bills. But yeah, so again, if you're talking about screenshots, is that all you got? Or if it's, well, the agent told me that, is that all you got? Then you got nothing. So I know I'm being repetitive. I know I'm repetitive. I'm sorry about that. It's just, this is a complicated matter. And I said this on Twitter. You've got the conversation, the concept of morality. And look, there are, like I said before, there are things that we're teaching our son about honesty, integrity, things like that, right? That's how he needs to live. You don't cheat to get ahead. That's not how you operate in the real world. But you can understand that and value that and want that for college sports. I want that for college sports. I don't want tampering to exist. It's horrible. It sucks that you have to do it and that it happens to you. Like, it sucks. It makes no sense at all. And until the leaders are willing to step in and actually do something about this, and not like just create another rule that the NCAA can't enforce because they'll get sued and then lose that too. I'm talking about like actually do what needs to be done. Collective bar, like really actually acting on this to get the opportunity to create rules again. I'm not talking about that. It would be great if that didn't exist in college sports. I would prefer it that way. But you can understand why this happens. You can understand that there are hundreds of people's livelihoods directly impacted by wins and losses on the field. Their families, their kids. Their employer, these coaches' employers lose millions of dollars if they have a down season in football. The university loses applications, loses donations. The town itself economically turns down during bad seasons. When I was a student reporter, I did a report on the difference between winning and losing from an economic impact perspective. Man, down seasons with bad attendance, I mean, businesses are stretched so thin when that happens locally. All that pressure on one person to win, all that pressure, you can understand why it's like this. You don't have to like it, but you can understand it. And I don't blame any of these guys for doing what they feel like they have to do in order to get ahead and win, because the rules aren't going to be enforced. There's a reason it doesn't happen in the NFL. And so many people and an institution in a town are depending on you doing whatever you can to win. Should it be that way? I'm not here to lecture society about what they care about and if they care about it too much. I just know that it is that way. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like you're some evil scum of the earth person for having all of that pressure on you and doing what it takes to win. That's not how people should operate in the real world. But this isn't real world. This is football. It's not the same as us and our families and our lives and our jobs with our children and our friends, etc. It is a little, I don't know. I can understand why this is like this because there's so much pressure on them. And if they fail, the result of their failure is tough to bear. Glad to hear you're safe, Edward. I figured that's where you were, man. I figured you were out of commission because of the winter storm. Glad to hear you safe. Don't see how any of this goes anywhere, and there's no proper governance on any of this. And even if they try to, just lawyer up, man. Just lawyer up the right way. This is your final semester and it's canceled through next week. Yeah, say goodbye to your spring break, man. I hope you didn't have Destin plans, or I don't know what you guys are doing now. Got the power back on today. Still waiting on internet and water, but had enough service to stop by the stream. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I'm glad to hear you guys are safe. I know it's wild. Also, basketball, flip-flopping the Vanderbilt game venues. I know this is not important at all in the grand scheme of things. It's not important. But I do, like, how much has Ole Miss been able to practice? You know, how can they be adequately prepared for this game, knowing what they've gone through? So, I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys, I got a couple of things I got to take care of. I really appreciate you being here. I hope what I said made sense. It's a layered, nuanced, weird discussion to have, frankly, because there's a lot of unknown. But I do think that, you know, ultimately, I think what I'm thinking came across tonight. So hopefully that I'll see you guys on Sunday, 9:00 on Sunday, and we'll talk then. Y'all have a good night and a good weekend. Be safe out there.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.